Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto Was the God of Taijutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto walked slowly through the streets of Konoha. It was 5:30 in the morning. Today was Sunday, and as Guy-sensei had explained the night before, they would have every Sunday off completely to themselves. Naruto had cheered at this announcement. While he liked his new team a lot and all the training was great, he needed time off. He would at least enjoy sleeping until 2 in the afternoon. At least that was what he thought. Yet he found himself up at 4:45. Try as he might, he just couldn't force himself back into sleep. So he gave up and decided to walk around the village. As Naruto soon discovered, the village was boring at 5 in the morning. No one was up, and as such there was no activity. At least no one was glaring at him. Without even thinking about it, Naruto walked into the training ground where his team always met up. To his surprise, Hinata was also standing there. Her back was turned and she hadn't noticed him yet. So he got her attention. Yo, Hinata, you couldn't sleep either. Naruto didn't think he had been quite that loud, at least compared to Guy-sensei, but Hinata jumped and squeaked in surprise. She turned around and waited for Naruto to walk up to her. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Hinata bowed and smiled slightly at him. No, I couldn't sleep. It just doesn't feel right anymore. I unconsciously ended up here. Naruto chuckled at what she said. That's pretty funny, the same thing happened to me. It's so boring in this village in the morning. I wonder what Bushy-brow and Guy-sensei do. They are probably running laps around the village. Naruto laughed hard at Hinata's answer. She blushed after she spoke. When had she gotten so good at just talking to Naruto? A week ago it was so hard just to stand close to him. You're really funny, Hinata. I never would have guessed that before. You were always so quiet and weird when we were in class. Hinata looked down as Naruto spoke. He thought she was weird. But he had also just said she was funny. His opinion must have changed, right? Hinata wanted to laugh. She never would have thought that second part a week ago. She would always stop at the negative parts, but lately it was getting easier for her to think more positive thoughts. You know what else is kind of funny? Naruto said. A week ago, everything seemed so different. It feels like I'm a completely different person now. Hinata smiled again. I was thinking the same thing just now. I'm glad to have been placed on a team with them. And more importantly on a team with you, Hinata added in her head. She didn't have near enough confidence yet to say it aloud. Maybe someday soon she would. She could only hope. Naruto gave Hinata a big smile. She was so much different from Sakura. Hinata never hit him or yelled at him. She was really nice. Thoughts of Sakura almost immediately brought him down. He had told Lee that he would give up on her, but it was proving hard to do. Feelings just didn't disappear. Thinking of that bet brought up another thought. He needed to get Lee a girlfriend still. Suddenly a light bulb went off in Naruto's head. He knew how he could spend the day. Hinata! Naruto shouted suddenly. Naruto placed his hands on her shoulders and looked her right in the eyes. Why yes. Naruto's shout caught her off guard and she found his look very unnerving. I have a very important question to ask you. Please answer me honestly. Naruto's voice was deadly serious. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. I won't be upset if you say no. Hinata's mind was spinning. A question. It wasn't possible. Did Naruto want to ask her out on a date? It was all developing too fast. Visions of Naruto and herself holding hands, going to the movies, and eating together came into her mind almost too fast to comprehend. Will you go out with? Here it came. All she had to do was say yes. Hopefully she didn't pass out. Quote. Bushy brow. Naruto finished. Ye wait, who? Lee senpai. Hinata didn't understand. What had just happened? Naruto thought she liked Lee. That wasn't possible. Had he noticed them spending time together? Yeah, Lee. Bushy brow, same thing. You remember I promised to get him a girlfriend. Well, that's what I'm gonna do today. I will get Bushy brow his first date. It'll make things really easy if you like him though. The only thing I'll have to do is find him. Naruto nodded happily to himself while it all clicked together for Hinata. Naruto didn't want to go out with her. But he also didn't think she liked Lee. He was just making good on his promise. That meant Hinata wasn't doomed to failure yet. Sorry, Naruto-kun, but I don't like Lee-senpai that way. Hinata pressed her index fingers together. There is someone I already like. She said it. Maybe he would pick up on it. Naruto's brow furrowed as he looked at her. You like Sasuke too, huh? Not a big surprise though. All the girls liked that jerk. Hinata's mouth was agape. That had not gone as planned. It was time to backtrack. Her heart wouldn't be able to take this much longer. I don't like Sasuke-san. She tried to say more but her mouth stopped working on her. Really? Naruto looked at her suspiciously for a moment. Then he smiled brightly at her. That's right, you're way too smart to like someone like him. He wouldn't treat you right anyway. A nice girl like you deserves much better. Naruto gave her an imitation of their sensei's nice guy pose. To her surprise, his smile even seemed to glow slightly. Hinata felt her face heating up at Naruto's praise. Alright, well that knocks you and Sakura-chan out for girlfriend candidates. We're going to have to wait a while, but once the day gets going I know just the girl to ask next. Naruto nodded to himself while all his brilliant ideas whirled. Hinata was pressing her index fingers together again. Naruto stopped his plotting to look at Hinata. Sorry, Hinata. You don't have to spend the day with me helpin'. I'll do it. Hinata surprised them both. She hadn't meant to, but at the words, day with me, she couldn't help herself. She would have given anything for a chance like this a week ago. Now that the chance just fell into her palm, she wouldn't let it go, no matter what happened. Awesome, you really are the best, Hinata. It'll be way easier to convince Ino with another girl around. Naruto started walking away from the training ground. Hinata jogged up to him and then fell into pace with his walk. Did you just say Ino? Hinata definitely had her doubts about that. It was going to end up exactly like what had happened with Sakura. Maybe worse. Of course. Ino is a perfect start. I know right where they'll be at 10 anyways. They were now back into the open streets. Hinata wasn't even sure if he had a current destination in mind. 10 o'clock was still 4 hours away. How do you know that, Naruto-kun? Hinata couldn't figure out how Naruto would know something like that. She knew he liked Sakura, but maybe he liked Ino too. Hinata shook her head. Naruto was definitely not like that. Simple, the only person with a bigger appetite than me is Choji, and he eats at the same place every morning at 10. He used to just drag Shikamaru there, but now I hear it's the whole team's meeting spot. Hinata wanted to know where Naruto had learned this as well. Soon the two fell into a repeated pattern. Hinata would ask Naruto a question and he would spout out answers. Sometimes he would rant on for half an hour. This continued as they walked through the village, occasionally taking a rest at a bench on the streets. Hinata couldn't ever remember having talked, or laughed for that matter, so much in her whole life. Even just this short few hours with Naruto made her forget all about her problems. It was 10 o'clock, much too soon for Hinata's taste. She had really enjoyed the morning, but now it was down to business. The hunt for Lee's girlfriend was on. She just wished it didn't have to start with Ino. Hinata looked up at the Korean barbecue they now stood in front of. She couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive about entering. The last time Naruto had entered a restaurant, things hadn't gone too well. Naruto, in a rare moment of insight, picked up on her unease. Don't worry, whenever I skipped class with Choji we would end up here. Hinata looked at Naruto curiously. She had been under the impression that he had always been alone. She didn't know when he had cut class it had ever been with anyone else. Then again, there were a lot of things about Naruto she didn't know. Her train of thought was interrupted as she noticed he was going in. Naruto pushed the door open and walked in, followed closely by Hinata. Looking around, Naruto found exactly the people he was looking for. Just as predicted, Hinata was surprised. She had actually not expected to see Ino here. But here she was, albeit she didn't look happy about it, with her teammates and the one Hinata assumed was their sensei. Naruto walked on over. What's up, guys? Long time no see. Team 10 looked up at Naruto. Ino and Shikamaru groaned while Choji ate his food a little faster. Like he was afraid Naruto was going to take some. Hinata almost giggled at the thought. Their sensei was the only one to actually reply. Hey there, kid, the name's Asuma. I see you know my young students here. So tell me, to what do we owe you this pleasure? Asuma watched Naruto carefully. He was well aware of the boy's reputation as a prankster. He didn't want to end up on the receiving end of his pranks. Actually, I'm here to talk with Ino. Naruto pointed to the blonde girl. What? Me? Why me? Can't you bug Shikamaru? Ino looked shocked. Her mentioned teammate said something about troublesome blondes, but she decided to ignore it for the moment. This new development was much more curious. Naruto had never really talked to her. The only girl Naruto ever really looked at was Sakura. Maybe it was a jealousy approach to win her over. Ino wanted no part of it. Then she noticed Hinata. Naruto was pulling out a team picture that they had taken just a couple days ago. Naruto loved this picture. He had one in a frame at home. He had made a copy though so she could show the girls just who Lee was. Not that looks were a great approach, but the girl who accepted might as well know what they were in for. Oh ho. Ino was now in between Naruto and Hinata. Naruto hadn't even seen her move and jumped when she spoke up. He almost dropped his picture in surprise. This sure is cute. The two of you on a date, huh? Hinata blushed heavily and suddenly found her feet very interesting. Even dressed similarly, you two are just so adorable. Ino squealed to herself. We're not on a date. Naruto deadpanned. Ino nearly fell over. Then why the hell are you here? I thought maybe you were going to ask me about getting her flowers. Ino was getting pissed. Just what did this kid want? I want you to go out with someone. Naruto said in his serious voice. What? Who? Is he good looking? Is it Sasuke-kun? Naruto's seriousness caught her off guard and she found she couldn't help but be a little curious. This guy right here. Naruto indicated to the part of the picture Lee was in and Ino peered curiously. His name is Rock Lee and Naruto never got to finish his sentence as Ino sent him out the window. Naruto landed painfully on his back outside the restaurant. Thankfully, it was an open window with no glass. Is this some kind of joke, Naruto? I should kill you. Yep. She was pissed. Naruto had expected as much but he had been hoping. Hinata quickly ran around from the side of the restaurant to him. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? She bent over him and offered her hand to help him up. Naruto grabbed it and just as he got up he saw Ino, kunai drawn, stepping out the window. Time to go, Hinata. Without letting go of her hand he took off down the street, pulling Hinata along the whole way. They weaved through the streets that were steadily filling with people. They didn't have to go many blocks though before Naruto decided it was safe enough. Phew, that sure was close. I really thought she was going to kill me. Right, Hinata? Hinata. Hinata's voice wouldn't work. For that matter her brain wouldn't work. The only thought that kept running in her head was, I'm holding hands with Naruto-kun. Hinata could have died right there and she would have been content. Naruto just then realized they were still holding hands and immediately let go. Sorry Hinata. I didn't even realize. Naruto couldn't think how to finish. He was too scared. If he had done that to Sakura he would have been 6 feet under by now. Surely Hinata was going to snap at any second. With the warmth of his hand gone, Hinata managed to find her voice. I don't mind, Naruto-kun. Naruto was astonished. She wasn't going to kill him. You don't? Are you sure you're not mad? Your face is pretty red. Hinata shook her head. I wouldn't get mad over something like that, Naruto-kun. I'm not like Sakura-san. Hinata wasn't sure why she said Sakura's name but it came out. Suddenly she couldn't help it, she had to say it. I don't see why you like her so much anyways. She is always so cruel to you. Naruto was suddenly very quiet. Hinata regretted what she said and was about to apologize when Naruto answered. She didn't really have any friends. I mean at first she had Ino but they stopped talking. No one really liked her. Everyone made fun of her forehead. It wasn't something she had any control over but they ripped on her for it and refused to hang out with her. I felt we were alike. So I decided I liked her. Because we are similar. Naruto stared at the street the whole time he talked. I always thought you and I were similar. Hinata's words caused Naruto to look up in surprise. Hinata steeled her nerves and kept talking. You were shunned by the whole village. I was shunned by my whole clan. I want nothing more than to become the clan heiress and be acknowledged by everyone in the clan, especially by my father. Just like how you want to become Hokage so the whole village will acknowledge you. It was Hinata who was now staring at the street. Naruto was shocked. He had never known that about Hinata. He always thought she had got on really well with her family. To think that they treated her like the village treated him made him angry. Your family is a bunch of morons. Hinata now looked up. Anyone who would treat you, the nicest person I know, like garbage are the lowest form of scum I can think of. No one treats my teammate that way. Naruto stopped walking and Hinata followed suit. Naruto stuck his fist out towards Hinata. I vow with all my power that I'll do everything I can so that we both accomplish our dreams and get accepted by the people we want it from. Hinata almost couldn't hold it in. She was so close to crying, but she couldn't do that in front of Naruto. He made her so happy, the last thing she wanted was for him to think he was making her sad. So she smiled at him instead. She knocked her fist into his. I make the same vow. We will be accepted, she whispered. Then a third fist knocked into theirs. This one came from Konohamaru, who stood just below them. I don't know what kind of vow we're making, but I swear to it as well, boss. Suddenly 2 more fists knocked into theirs and Naruto turned to see Mogi and Udon had joined him as well. The sight of the new arrivals reminded Naruto of his original goal. How fortunate that his next target would come right to him. Mogi, it's good to see you. Naruto squatted down and put a hand on Moeji's shoulder. Huh, what's up with that, boss? Don't ignore me. Konohamaru whined and tugged on Naruto's sleeve. Naruto ignored him anyway. Tell me, you wouldn't happen to have a crush on anyone at the moment, would you? Mogi looked down and blushed at her feet. Boss, she started. Yeah, the anticipation was killing him. Boys have cooties. Naruto fell backwards. Never mind, let's go, Hinata. Naruto got up and started walking off. A very perturbed Hinata walking after him. The Konohamaru Corps just stared at them curiously as the two walked off. Naruto-kun? Hinata asked after a hesitant second. Yeah. Naruto gave her a quick glance. Did you really just try to set Lee-senpai up with that little girl? Hinata had felt herself lose a little respect for Naruto at that moment. No, of course not. Naruto waved it off. Hey, is that who I think it is? Naruto asked suddenly. Don't change the subject, Naruto-kun. There are laws, you can. No, bushy brows old teammate. Ninanine or something like that. Naruto pointed to where he was looking. You mean Tenten? Hinata shook her head. Sometimes she had to remind herself why she loved him. Yeah, that's her name. Quick, we can't let her get away. Naruto took off after her. Hinata of course followed, but not before making another vow to continue this conversation later. Hey, Tenten, wait up. Naruto roared through the crowd. Hearing her name, Tenten turned around to see both of Lee's new teammates running up to her. She smiled at them. She had actually been hoping to run into them sometime. Although she figured Lee would be with them. Caught up to you. Naruto stopped just in front of her. Good morning, Tenten-san, Hinata said as she caught up. Morning there, you two. How have you been adjusting to Guy-sensei's workout? Tenten looked him up and down. They had already changed the clothes to green since she'd last seen them. It's tough. Getting up at 5 every morning was a pain at first, but we're getting it. Exercising after those missions though always leaves a burn. Naruto replied calmly, but Tenten's mouth fell open. You mean you guys actually go through that ridiculous schedule he has Lee doing? Tenten was horrified. She didn't think anyone could possibly keep up with those two. Of course. Didn't you? Hinata was curious now. While she knew Neji didn't go through with it, she had at least assumed Tenten had. No way. That is insane. Who needs to work that much? Besides, I'm a weapons specialist. Best in my class. I don't need to learn that kind of taijutsu. Tenten shook her head at the two in front of her. You're a genius too. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly at Tenten. Well, I'm no Neji, but I guess some would call me that. I've always been gifted with good accuracy. She had a feeling Naruto wasn't a fan of geniuses, but there was no denying it to him. Then, I challenge you to one-on-one combat. Naruto shouted. If I win, you have to agree to go on a date with Bushy Brow. A minute of silence passed between the genin. Bushy Brow. Tenten had to ask. You know, Lee. Naruto shouted. Did no one see the eyebrows? Tenten thought for another second. And if I win, you agree to do one thing I say. Naruto had not anticipated that. Whatever though, she had accepted. Good enough for him. Alright, let's do this. Naruto shouted and formed the ram seal. Naruto-kun. Hinata whispered to him. What is it, Hinata? I'm about to fight here. Naruto looked at Tenten and saw she too was looking at him oddly. We're still in the middle of the street, people are staring. Naruto looked around to confirm what Hinata had said. As usual, she was right. Of course, to the training ground. Naruto walked off much too proudly. Hinata and now a laughing Tenten followed. This was going to be easier than she thought. 15 minutes later, Naruto and Tenten stood facing each other in Team Guy's typical clearing. Sure you want to do this? Tenten asked. I don't want to humiliate you in front of your girlfriend. I won't be the one humiliated. That person is you. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto formed his favorite seal and 3 clones popped into existence. Charge. They all started running towards Tenten. Shadow clones, huh? Tenten remarked calmly. Well, this will be interesting. She pulled out a scroll and made a hand sign. The clones stopped fast and watched wearily for her jutsu. A kusarigama popped out. Tenten grabbed it and placed the scroll back in her pouch. The weapon consisted of a small kama on one end with a weighted ball attached to a lengthy chain on the other. I'll give you a handicap, she announced. This weapon here is the only one I'll use. She dropped the weighted end and began swinging it around from its chain. Don't underestimate me. All the clones rang out. With one fluid motion they all hurled a kunai at Tenten. Still swinging the ball, she easily deflected all the kunai skyward. As each one fell downwards, she nailed them with the kama and sent them flying at the Narutos. The handle of the kunai knocked them each in the forehead protector. All but one was extinguished. Tenten launched herself at Naruto and swung the blade down. Damn! Naruto cursed and formed the seal again. A clone popped up behind himself. The clone grabbed Naruto by the collar and pulled him backwards, throwing him into the air and safely out of Tenten's swing. Not so fast. Tenten swung the ball again, beaming the new clone which popped quickly out. Naruto was still in midair from the way his clone had thrown him. Making another clone underneath himself, Naruto angled his feet so he could jump off of it. Adding a little chakra to his feet, Naruto launched skywards. He pulled out 3 shuriken and whipped them down at his target. Didn't you learn last time? Tenten knocked all 3 back at Naruto as he started his fall. With no way to dodge, he made another clone which intercepted the attack and popped. Naruto made 2 more that caught him before he hit the ground. You're not bad at defending. Tenten taunted. Is that all Guy-sensei has taught you how to do? Hide behind your clones. Naruto smirked. He taught me more than that. He also taught me that surprises can kill. Suddenly the clone Naruto had jumped off of grabbed onto Tenten from behind. Gotcha now. The clone had her arms locked. Tenten struggled to get free, but the clone had an iron grip on her. The other 3 Narutos started to charge her now. Tenten thought fast. Fortunately for her, Naruto was much shorter than her and his clone's feet weren't on the ground. That meant he couldn't anchor himself to it. Tenten pushed the chakra into her feet and launched herself upwards, clone and all. The clone clearly had not expected that and loosened his grip just for a second. It was enough though for Tenten to break free. With a spinning kick, she sent it crashing down onto the other Narutos. Still in the air, she began spinning the ball again. Naruto lost all his clones and was bowled over himself from the shock of the impact. He was just getting to his feet when the chain began spinning around him. It quickly wrapped itself around the young genin and he toppled over. Tenten then landed roughly on top of him and pushed her blade to his throat. My win. She grinned coyly down at her captive. Naruto-kun. Hinata ran up to her blonde teammate, worry apparent in her eyes. Don't worry, Hinata. Naruto gasped out. It was hard for him to breathe with the chain wrapped tightly around his body and a girl sitting on top of him. I'm alright. You got spirit, I'll give you that. Tenten remarked as she stepped off of him. She summoned the weapon back into her scroll and then offered Naruto a helping hand. Naruto ignored it and slowly got to his feet, gasping hard. Hinata wanted badly to go over to him and lend him her shoulder, but she didn't want to further hurt his pride. Tenten had got him pretty good. Naruto-kun, she said quietly to herself. Not quietly enough though, because Naruto heard her. Hey, don't worry about it, Hinata. Stuff like this is nothing new to me. Naruto gave her a smile that she instantly knew was fake. That loss is nothing to be ashamed of. I'm a genin a year ahead of you. Of course there is going to be a gap. The important thing is you caught me off guard with that clone. Not even Sasuke-san has managed to get me like that yet. I did better than Sasuke. Naruto looked up with a new sense of pride in his eyes. Knowing he did better than that jerk was the best news he had heard all day. Tenten smiled. Don't let it go to your head though, I still kicked your ass. Now I believe you owe me a favor. Naruto gulped. He couldn't imagine what this girl would ask of him. Tenten stepped closer and put a hand on both Naruto and Hinata's shoulders. Naruto was really nervous now. She had a really serious look on her face. Take good care of Lee for me. I know it may not seem it, but I worry about the guy. He was a good teammate and I'm trusting you guys to keep him happy for me. Naruto let out an instant sigh of relief. That was it. He smiled broadly at her. No problem. Bushy Brow is our friend too. There's no way we'd let something happen to him. Hinata nodded her agreement. Tenten smiled again. I'm glad to hear it. Now, go find him a good girlfriend. Yes, Naruto and Hinata said together. The two teammates now sat dejected at Ichiraku's. Every idea so far had failed. Sure, they'd only tried 4 girls. 5, if you counted Hinata. Yet nothing had worked out at all and now they were out of girls they knew. This sucks. Naruto voiced their thoughts for them. I mean, sure, he dresses a little strange, but they didn't give him a chance at all. I mean, really, who believes in cooties anymore? I thought only girls were supposed to have that anyway. Naruto ranted. Please don't bring up Mogi-chan. Hinata muttered darkly. She had still not entirely forgiven Naruto for that. Although she had kept her word and talked to him about it already. Sorry. Naruto mumbled. Even Hinata was scary when mad. At least she hadn't hit him. What seems to be troubling 2 of my favorite customers. Chuki had just arrived from the back to see the 2 depressed genin. No girl will give Bushy Brow the time of day. Naruto exclaimed. He's a great guy, if only someone would give him a chance they would see that. Naruto was back to his rant. Bushy Brow. Chuki scratched his head. That older teammate of yours. He needs a date. I promised I'd get him one, but so far I got nothing. Naruto hit his head on the counter. I may be able to help you out. Chuki smiled evilly at his daughter as she emerged. What's with that look? Ayami definitely didn't like it. Naruto and Hinata stood on the edge of the village. They had finally got Lee a date, but to their horror realized they had no idea where Lee was at all. Now they had less than a half an hour to find him and get him there. They had checked everywhere they could think of and this was their last bet. Hopefully their crazy teammate was running laps around the village. They actually didn't have to wait long for their teammate to come running into sight. They both released a breath they hadn't realized they'd been holding. Lee smiled brightly when he saw his teammates. My youthful compatriots, how bright it makes my day to meet you here. Perhaps you have been running laps as well. Bushy Brow, listen up, we gotta hurry. Naruto said urgently. Lee caught the urgency in his voice and became serious. Do not tell me someone is hurt. The village is not under attack, is it? No, we got you a date. But if you don't get to Ichiraku soon you're going to be late. The urgency still very much in Naruto's voice. Huh, Lee said stupidly. A date, Hinata repeated. With whom? Lee asked, quickly recovering from his shock. Ayami-ne-chan. Naruto grabbed onto Lee's arm and started pulling him. The ramen girl. But is she not a little old for me? Lee was really confused now. Nah, she's 17, you're like 14. 3 years is nothing for a shinobi. You never know what mission will be your last. That cat might do us in next time. Naruto was still pulling on Lee. But, I do not even know what to do on a date. Lee said lamely. Don't worry about that. I wrote you a list of what to do. Here, take it. Read it on your way down. Trust me, this is golden. You'll have her swept off her feet by the end of the night. Naruto stopped pulling, gave Lee a folded up piece of paper and then gave Lee his nice guy pose. Naruto. Tears started to stream from Lee's eyes. I thank you so much for giving me this passionate opportunity. I will not fail you. Lee started running towards the ramen stand. His nose deep in Naruto's instructions. When did you write that? Hinata looked at Naruto suspiciously. She hadn't seen him write anything down today. Well, I kinda lied. I didn't write it for him. I wrote that while we were at the academy. It was what I would have done. Naruto scratched his head sheepishly. Hinata sighed. At least they had succeeded. She had nothing more to do with this. Well, we need to get going too. Bushy Brow was going fast, so it'll be hard to catch up to him. What? Hinata snapped her head quickly to look at Naruto. I want to know how the date goes, don't you? I mean, I did write it up after all. Hinata groaned. Of course they were going to follow them. But try as she might, Hinata couldn't quite kill the urge to know what Naruto planned out on a date. So she nodded her head and they ran off in the direction their teammate went. Ayami stood outside her father's ramen stand. She felt very out of place when not in her restaurant attire. Her hair was still in its typical ponytail at least. She was in a bright yellow t-shirt and pink pants that stopped above her ankles. She also wore what she figured were ninja sandals. Almost every ninja in the village wore them after all. She couldn't believe he had talked her into doing this. The nerve of that man she called father. He had told her she spent too much time in the kitchen and not enough trying to find a boy. He had said he was doing it for her own good. Ayami wouldn't have had any qualm if it had been a good-looking boy. Or at least one her age. Instead she got Naruto's crazy teammate. Naruto. The only reason she had even said yes was that damn pathetic look he had given her. She just couldn't say no to the one she had come to view as her little brother. She heard Lee long before she saw him. The boy was like a freaking elephant with the way he was stomping on the ground as he ran through the village. Then the noise stopped. After a few seconds, she saw the boy walk around the corner of the shop, trying to look as if he'd walked the whole way. It would have been convincing if he hadn't been drenched in sweat. He bowed low. Ayami-san, I thank you so much for giving me the pleasure of your company tonight. I will make it a most youthful experience for you. Ayami sighed. She looked him up and down before speaking, down 2 points. Huh. Lee looked at her blankly. Don't give me that look, the test has already begun. You lose 2 points for wearing the same clothes you always do, you have to dress up for a date, you know. Ayami gave Lee a glare. But, anyways, at least you're on time. So I'll forgive you this once. Ayami cut off Lee's excuse. So what's the plan? You do have a plan, right? She looked at Lee expectantly. Of course. Lee stood a little straighter. I thought we should have a nice meal first, then we will go to a movie afterwards. Followed by that I thought we could take a nice stroll through the park and then I will walk you home. That's not bad. You pass there. So where are we going to eat? Ayami gave him a thumbs up for his good answer. We're already here. Lee said proudly. Ayami looked around. Then she figured it out. Who wants to eat at the place they work for a date? Down 3 points. Down 4 points. Lee wasn't the only one getting yelled at during that particular moment. Hinata was much more discreet though. They had a cover to keep after all. Naruto-kun. How could you do that to Lee-senpai? Sorry. I told you I wrote that at the academy, where else was I supposed to take a girl? You know the other restaurants would kick me out. They both paused after he spoke. Hinata looked down sadly. Of course she knew that. She would just be damned if she knew why yet. Lee and her had continued their investigation but nothing predominant had come out yet. So they were biding their time. Waiting for another piece to present itself. Yet the more they waited the more it seemed it would have to be up to Naruto to tell them. Naruto didn't like Hinata's silence. It was worse than her quiet fury. Hey, don't worry about it. Naruto started to say. I'm just being an idiot, I'm sorry. Hinata shook her head. No. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry too. I didn't mean to yell at you. Alright, we're both sorry. So let's call a truce. Naruto stuck his hand out. Yeah, okay. Hinata shook his hand and they both turned to observe Lee and Ayami some more. In the end they had ended up eating at the noodle stand anyways. Much to Chuki's amusement. Soon, Ayami and Lee finished their meal and he began leading her to the movies. Naruto and Hinata trailed by rooftop, always keeping right above the couple. Hey, I got a question for you. Ayami asked suddenly. Ask away, Ayami-san. I will answer any question to the best of my nurturing ability. Lee shouted. Down 1 point. You don't need to yell, talk to me, I'm right next to you. Ayami chastised. Sorry, it is a habit I picked up from Guy-sensei. Lee apologized in a normal tone this time. You learn fast, good. Ayami praised. But your sensei is my question. Why in the world do you dress and act just like him? He can't really seem that cool to you, can he? Guy-sensei is the coolest. He practically glows with cool. Lee was shouting again. Ayami gave him an look and Lee quickly apologized before continuing. You see, Guy-sensei is the only reason I am a ninja. I lack the ability to do either ninjutsu or genjutsu, necessary ninja skills. But Guy-sensei took me in anyways and trained me to do Taijutsu. I owe my whole way of life to him. So the least I can do to honor him is to act like him. Continue his legacy when his youth fades and keep the legend of the beautiful green beast of Konoha alive. Ayami digested what he said for a minute. That's surprisingly heartfelt. I think I'm starting to see why Naruto-kun respects you so much. She added. Naruto respects me. This new information surprised Lee. A real lot. He always talks about how hard you work and how he plans to train even harder so he can be a great ninja like you. It's nice to see he has someone he can idolize who's close to his age. You know he didn't have friends as a kid. Ayami looked towards Lee as they walked down the street. Yes, I do. But I do not know why. It pains me so much to see the villagers treat him that way. I feel like if I could just figure out why, I could help him. You would not know anything, would you? I'm afraid not. Ayami said quietly. I have a feeling my father knows, but he won't say anything. He says the best way we can help him is to be there for him, let him know we care. What's done is in the past and we have to move forward, for his sake. Lee nodded. Your father is a wise man. Unfortunately his words do not hinder my need to know this secret. I will find out what it is. Lee held up his fist. Naruto sneezed. Hinata and him jumped back, hoping that their targets hadn't heard. Man, I want to know what they're talking about. Naruto whined. Can't you hear them at all? Hinata shook her head. We are too high up. We can't get closer and risk them catching us though. Besides, they need a little privacy. Hinata couldn't imagine how embarrassing it would be to find out you were being spied on during a date. The least she could do was give them time to themselves. Finally they arrived at the movies. What would you like to see, Ayami-san? Lee looked up at the choices. You pick, you're the man, aren't you? Ayami crossed her arms while looking at Lee. Yes. Lee walked up to the ticket booth. I want 2 tickets to the scariest movie that is playing. Lee placed his money on the counter. Ayami got wide-eyed. Scariest movie. I don't want to go see a scary movie. Too late, Ayami-san. I am the man and I chose the movie already. Lee gave her the thumbs up. I think I am getting pretty good at this role, do you not agree? He held out her ticket. Ayami rubbed her forehead. You have room for improvement. She mumbled while taking the ticket. As they disappeared into the theater, Naruto and Hinata landed at the booth. 2 for whatever the couple before us went into. Hinata blushed heavily when Naruto spoke. He was buying her ticket. This was almost like a date between them as well. Okay, 2 for Shinsei Toi no Hanako-san. The man behind the counter gave them their tickets and they ran off into the theater. The bathroom was dark when the girl opened the door. Nervously moving her hand around on the wall, she found the switch. A light came on, but the bathroom was poorly lit yet. The girl swallowed hard. She walked slowly towards the 3rd stall from the door. They were all locked and closed. She stopped in front of it and stared up at it. She held her hand in front of the door for a few seconds, poised to knock. After a few deep breaths she summoned her courage. Knock, knock, knock. Hanako-san, are you done yet? The girl called out. She was greeted with silence. She let out a sigh of relief when a voice answered from the stall. Not yet. The girl's eyes grew wide. She almost screamed, but she didn't. She couldn't do that now. The girl waited a minute before knocking again. Hanako-san, are you done? Why yet? The girl was having a hard time fighting back her tears. Not yet. The eerie voice responded again. The girl waited another minute before knocking again. Hanako-san, are you done yet? A chopped sob escaped her mouth as she spoke. I'm done. The door clicked, unlocked and opened slightly. No, do not do it. She is going to get you. Run away now. It is not breaking the rules. Lee sat on the edge of his seat, watching the movie between his fingers. An unaffected Ayami sat next to him. Tears fell freely from the girl's face as she pushed the door the rest of the way open. The camera angle shifted to the inside of the stall, looking out at the girl. The look on her face was of complete horror. No, I cannot watch this, tell me how it ends. Lee curled himself into a ball, covering his eyes with both his hands completely. The girl screamed. No, do not show it to me. Lee kept glancing up every second now. Will you shut up? Ayami put her fingers to his mouth to shush him. This movie isn't even scary. The effects are terrible and we have yet to even see this so-called Hanako-san. They're acting like her appearance is some big secret. Not to mention how terribly predictable this movie is. Man, I don't know what is scarier to watch. Bushy brow ruin his date or this movie. Naruto whispered. Hinata and he were watching the movie from the ceiling. Hinata could only nod in agreement. A painful hour and a half later and a crying Lee and a bored-looking Ayami came out of the theater. Guy-sensei, I have failed this challenge. I will do 1,000 push-ups with no hands, after I complete this date. Lee screamed into the air. Who are you talking to? How is that even possible? Lee was about to answer when Ayami held up her hand while rubbing her temples. You know what, don't answer. Let's get the last part of this date going. Not even you can possibly screw up a walk through the park. Is that a youthful challenge? Lee's eyes lit up on fire. Let us make our way to the park with full haste. Lee grabbed Ayami's hand and started running towards the park. What? Wait, it wasn't a challenge. Lee-san, I can't run this fast. Ayami's feet hardly touched the ground the whole way to the park. A winded Ayami now stood at the entrance to the park, trying to catch her breath. Don't you, ever, do that again. It took her several breaths to complete that statement. I apologize Ayami-san. Sometimes my fires of youth burn too brightly and I forget myself. Lee bowed low as he apologized. Yeah. So are you going to escort me through the park or not? Ayami had finally caught her breath. Of course. Lee stuck his elbow out towards her. What are you doing? Ayami eyed his elbow peculiarly, like it was about to screw right off. When escorting a lady, isn't it common to lock arms? Lee asked. He had been sure it was customary. You have some good sense after all, Lee-san. Ayami praised. She slid her arm gracefully through Lee's and they began their walk. Naruto peeked his head out of a nearby bush. Nice one bushy brow, he might be okay yet, after those first two disasters. Naruto sighed in relief. Perhaps we should stop following them for the night, Naruto-kun. Hinata also stepped out from the bush. The sun has almost completely set now and it is getting dark. It'd be a shame to miss the end of this. Just a little bit longer, please Hinata. Naruto looked at her with big blue eyes. Hinata couldn't say no. Conversation between Lee and Ayami had stopped. Lee was starting to panic. He knew he wasn't a very multi-talented person but he didn't realize until now that training all day left him with very little to discuss. My, it sure is getting chilly out. Lee mentally kicked himself in the head. The weather was never a good topic. Yeah. Too bad you don't have a jacket to wrap around me. Lee felt another mental kick coming. This was not going the way he had expected at all. He was surprised Ayami was still even here. He had expected her to not even leave the noodle stand with him. The fact that he got this far was nothing short of miraculous. He could only silently thank Naruto for his good fortune. Lee looked ahead and internally cursed his own bad fortune. Three men were walking up to them and Lee didn't like the way they were eyeing Ayami. The looking could have been the end of it but one of them stepped in front of their path. Whoa, there, he said while holding his hands in front of himself. Mind telling me what such a pretty face such as yourself is doing with garbage like this? The man's friends chuckled as they fell back behind him. None of your business, now get out of our way. Ayami started to push past them. Not so fast there, Toots. The man stretched out his hand to grab Ayami but Lee's hand knocked it away so fast it took everyone else a second to realize what had happened. Please, let us pass, we do not wish for any trouble. Lee successfully got himself and Ayami through now. I know you, now. The first man said. Hey, he look familiar to you boys. Now that you mention it, yeah. He's that demon brat's teammate. All three men laughed. Lee bristled at their words. He unlinked his arm from Ayami's and turned around. His name is Uzumaki Naruto and you better respect him. He is going to become the Hokage one day. Lee watched as all three men bust into laughter. Hey, you hear that? He says the demon is going to become Hokage. The day he becomes Hokage, I'll get eaten by a giant toad. The men laughed harder. Lee gave an indignant huff and turned around. Let us go, Ayami-san. Lee put his hand on her back and began to lead her away. Ayami gave the men a disgusted look before nodding her agreement. Don't walk away from me. The man stepped forward and spit. It flew right into the back of Lee's head. Ayami gasped and quickly pulled out a handkerchief and started to wipe it off. Lee's arms were shaking. It was against ninja code to attack a civilian but Lee was about to make an exception to that rule. No one insulted his friend and ruined his already failing date on him. Suddenly the whole fight went through his head. First, distract target, the handkerchief will do. Then block his blind jab, counter with cross to left cheek. Discombobulate. Dazed, he will attempt wild haymaker. Employ elbow block, and body shot. Block feral left, weaken right jaw, now fracture. Break cracked ribs, traumatize solar plexus, dislocate jaw entirely. Finish with heel kick to diaphragm. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, 3 ribs cracked, 4 broken, diaphragm hemorrhaging. Physical recovery, 6 weeks. Full psychological recovery, 6 months. Capacity to spit at back of head, neutralized. Lee grabbed the handkerchief Ayami had, turned around and threw it in the man's face. The man was surprised and threw the punch Lee had predicted. Lee stepped forward and blocked the man's punch and proceeded to punch him in the jaw. He then clapped his hands on the man's ears. Lee blocked the man's next shot and followed with a punch to the man's stomach. Blocking another shot, Lee punched the man again in the jaw. Then he punched the man twice more in the stomach and another shot to the jaw. Lee then jumped and kicked his opponent clear in the stomach, sending him sprawling. The whole scene happened in less than 6 seconds, leaving all spectators in a mix between confusion and wonderment. Lee walked up to his date and bowed. "I apologize for that intrusion, Ayami-san. Shall I escort you home now?" "Why yeah." Ayami was seldom speechless, but what Lee had just done left little room for her to be much else. She let Lee lead her back to her house without another word. The two men stood there looking confused. "I think you should take your friend home." They both jumped and turned around to see said demon brat. "It wouldn't be wise to tell anyone what really happened, got it?" The men nodded quickly, picked up their fallen friend and dragged him to the hospital. Naruto was looking in the direction they were going, but Hinata knew he wasn't actually seeing them. He had a faraway look in his eye. Like everyone else, it took them a minute to realize what had really happened too. Naruto had been trying to get at the man when he had spit on Lee, and Hinata had been trying to hold him back. When they looked up, the man was already down for the count. "I had no idea anyone else actually believed I could become Hokage," he said to himself. "I know you can do it." Naruto now looked at Hinata. She started to press her fingers together but continued talking. "You are always working very hard, you give everything your all. You also really care about people. Those are good traits a Hokage needs." Naruto wiped away tears that were starting to form. "How uncool. Thank you, Hinata. Really, thank you. You're way cooler to hang out with than Sakura-chan." Hinata blushed at his praise. "I'll walk you home, okay? We're done following them." Hinata nodded happily. Lee and Ayami arrived at the ramen stand. Ayami finally recovered from her shock. "Lee-san, you know, that was really cool, what you did. You aren't going to get in trouble for it, are you?" Lee shook his head and leaned in to whisper. "The best part of dressing this way is no one is willing to admit they lost to me." Ayami couldn't help but chuckle at that. It's nice to see Naruto has someone that cares about him. "Thank you for everything tonight, Lee-kun." Ayami gave Lee a quick peck on his bushy brow before she turned and went inside. Lee sat there in a daze. His first date had been a success. Lee couldn't help it. Yahoo! Lee jumped high into the air. When he landed, he sprinted off towards the training grounds. His flames were burning brighter than ever, and it was going to take some serious exercise to fan them down. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.